Giants throws a long pass down the field. It's picked off at the 50-yard line. Robinson down to the 40. He's got blockers.
You don't even have to look at the numbers when you see a receiver get hit the way he got hit.
Brady takes the snap, looks right, lays it out over the top, and it's intercepted. Ball is picked off by Richard Sherman down to the 20-yard line.
When you go back and look at the history of the Seahawks DBs, and you go from the current day of Devin Witherspoon, and then you go all the way back to Dave Brown, and you start to realize there's been some really good DBs in this franchise.
Kind of started with the draft pick with Kenny Easley. Probably ever since then, it feels like they've generally had somebody in their back end who was a guy like that.
There's very few people on defense who everybody can feel their presence. It's like they're lurking somewhere, and you're worried because they might take your head off. They're a physical presence to be feared. I think Kenny Easley's clearly on a short list of players, even in the history of the NFL, that are that type of a guy.
Kenny Easley.
Especially into the Holmgren and Pete Carroll eras where you had guys like Marcus Trufant and then obviously the Legion of Boom. I don't know how many Super Bowl winning teams are. Remember everybody, but maybe what most people from afar, you kind of remember the Legion of Boom, a team that was sort of led by its secondary. But that '84 team was maybe the first great team in Seahawk history that went 12-4, and the secondary they had at that time, which unfortunately lacked a catchy nickname, but was really one of the most dominant seasons in terms of interceptions and the turnovers they forced and things like that, and Kenny Easley being player of the year.
But Dave Brown, the absolute leader, leading this team with 50 interceptions at his time with the Seahawks.
Pass shoots one toward the left side and is picked off by Brown. Up the sideline he goes. He could go all the way. He's going to go all the way.
The time that the Seahawks picked off the Chiefs 4 times in one game. 6 interceptions in the game, but 4 pick sixes for over 300 yards total. That's like unheard of. These guys picked off Bill Kenny twice, then Todd Blackledge comes in, they pick him off, then they bring in a third-string quarterback who no one has ever heard of to this day, and he throws a pick 6. I mean, the Chiefs had to be going, this is just not our day. But to me, an NFL record 4 pick sixes that still stands in one game was amazing.
You have to have those guys, and especially, I think, the corners. I really saw that when Pete got here. Pete really liked to build his defense from that outside edge in. If his cornerbacks could single up and cover the best receivers on the other team, and you had a safety like an Earl Thomas who could run sideline to sidelines, and you had a strong safety like Cam Chancellor who could come down in the box and bury a tight end or a running back, you had the makings of then allowing those guys up front to do what you need them to do.
I think there's a great Hall of Fame case for Earl Thomas. I think he's another one of those kind of unique players. Just who would you compare Earl Thomas to, if anybody ever? I don't know that you would. He was like a pinball.
Pass Garcon is down here, and so is Earl, who picks it off at the 25.
Talking now, 10 years removed from the Super Bowls, I've asked, was there somebody who was really the heart of the team that maybe people didn't know about? And the several I've asked have all said Cam Chancellor.
Never give up! Never give up! Fight till you can't fight no more! Fight till you can't fight no more!
If you remember the big hit on Vernon Davis of the 49ers, top 10 for the 49ers, it was a legal hit within the rules. They threw a flag because it just looked like it had to be a penalty. Like, no one hits somebody this hard without it being a penalty. There's a flag on the play, totally clean.
The early hits that he made in the Super Bowl win over Denver set the tone for the whole team, the whole game. And I think Peyton Manning was afraid of him after seeing some of that.
Manning makes it. He steps up in the pocket on the blitz. Ball sails. Ball's intercepted at the 40-yard line. Cam Chancellor.
Ordinary tips and overthrows. They come in bunches. Come on. They come in bunches. It's the LOB.
That Legion of Boom, I know Cam Chancellor was part of that, Earl Thomas was part of that, but they couldn't have done what they did without Richard.
Drops back into the end zone, looks left, throws. Ball is intercepted far side. Touchdown! Richard Sherman.
There was a stretch there 3 or 4 years in a row where he was the best cornerback in the league.
This is what we do!
It got to the point where people quit throwing deep on him. Because he'd been a wide receiver, because he was so tall and skinny, because he had those long arms, he would lock onto the ball before the receiver would. You could see it coming. You'd be sitting watching the game, especially if I had my binoculars on him. Richard's got it.
I always go back to that tip pass against Crabtree.
Fires near side, going for the end zone. Ball is picked up and afterward. It's picked off in the end zone. The Seahawks intercept in the end zone.
And you wonder for a whole bunch of different reasons what had happened had he not made that play, right? He misses or he's a step late or whatever. Changes Kaepernick's career. Seahawks don't make the Super Bowl that year. It was a huge play in a whole bunch of different ways, more than just what happened for that game.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game.
Who was talking about you?
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm gonna shut it for you real quick. Let's go!
The Kenny Easleys and some of these big names that started it all for the Seahawks defensive backs, and then led up to Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Legion of Boom, and now we have that new era of Devin Witherspoon and Reek Woolen leading the way. So all those guys, those young guys that are trying to make it now, can look back at the lineage of this Seahawks defensive backs and the history they've had back there in the secondary. It's pretty cool and a standard to live up to for sure.